Hello and welcome to video number 4 of the EDS tutorial. In this video we are going to learn how to build a new model. A model is a monitoring unit which is designed to detect abnormality in a group of related variables. The simple example is a model which monitors a group of variables related to the same station. However, one may build a model which monitors a set of variables which are not geographically related to the same location. For example, a model which monitors the level of free chlorine along a pipe. This video has 4 sections. The first deals with how to start a new model. The second deals with how to define a model's variables. The third is about how to load an initial data set into the model's table. And the last is about how to run the learning process which creates the model's basic statistics. You can start a new model from the server's main screen. Please click on the button labeled Start a New Model. Note that you do not have to stop the server in order to define a new model. The monitoring process continues to run while you are busy with the process of building a new model. Once you click the Start a New Model button, a window with several fields will pop up asking you for some details. The new model should be given a name. The name must contain letters and digits only with no spaces. Other characters which are not letters or digits are not allowed. The second field is Model Group. You may sort the models into groups. The purpose of grouping will be explained later in this educational program. The third and the fourth fields are the username and password of a system administrator who is allowed to create models. This username and password comes with the privilege to create databases in the SQL server. Once all fields have been completed, click on the OK button to create a new model. The new created model is not yet loaded onto the server. It only has an empty database container. In order to load, click the plus sign located in the middle of the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. A list of all models defined in the database will appear in a window. Mark the new model and click the OK button. The model will be loaded onto the server. At this stage, the model appears on the server's main screen with a status of idle. In order to start the definition process, you need to double-click the model name. Or select the model, and click the Show Model button, which is the fourth button from the left on the screen toolbar. Once you double-click the model name, the model control panel will be shown. This panel enables the user to perform all the necessary activities related to the selected model. Please note that this panel is used both for model definition and model monitoring during runtime. We now start the second part of this video, which discusses defining model variables. As was explained in the previous video, one should prepare a CSV file, which contains the names of the variables in the first row of the file. The rest of the file contains the learning set. In order to start the variable definition process, please click the Learn button. In order to define the model's variables, one should select the name of the CSV file by clicking on the circled button. You should also mark the checkbox which is labeled Read Field Names Only. This signals the learning process that currently we are only defining field names. Once you have performed these two actions, click on the OK button located on the left side of the screen. At this stage, the definition of the model's fields only exists in the server memory. In order to create an empty model table, please go to the maintenance screen and click the button labeled Create a New Empty Model Table. Please note that if the table already exists and contains data, this action will not be possible. At this stage, if you go to the Variables tab, you can see that all variable names are defined, but all variable characteristics are empty. What is now required is to define all variable characteristics. To do this, click on the Variables panel and open the Variables tab. Using this tab, you can define the characteristics of each variable. Double-click on each variable to open the Variable Properties window as shown on the screen. Variable properties include display format, user low and high limits, validation limits and topology. User limits are used to define alarming zones, as will be explained in a later video. Validation limits is used to define whether the records are valid for the learning process. Topology is used to define good and bad zones of variable values. Details about topology can be found in a later video which defines how the EDS detects good and bad combinations. It is now time to load the data into the model table. Please go back to the Learn tab. Assuming that the CSV file name is already defined from the field name definition process, uncheck the field labeled Read Field Names Only. Then click the OK button. If the field structure is OK, data will be loaded from the CSV file into the model table. If the file contains error, a proper explanation message will be displayed. Once loading has been completed, the user will be notified. The loaded data can be viewed in the Monitored Data tab. Please click the Refresh button and the loaded records will be displayed. Records are displayed from the most recent in reverse order. Note that you can use the Dates field to filter records for a specific date. Records may be downloaded to an Excel file using the proper button. Note also that the number of records for display purposes is limited to 1000 records. This number may be changed by the user. We now start the last stage in the process of building a new model. This is the learning process. Currently, two learning actions are needed: single variables learning and multi-variables learning. The first button labeled with an S is the single variables learning. Click this button to activate the first learning process. If all single variables have been defined, the learning process is complete. Once the first learning process has been completed, please go back to the Variables tab, and view the single variable characteristics that have been created. This includes statistical limits, average, median, maximum and minimum value for each variable. Note that this learning process is influenced by two parameters: the significance level and the time weights. It is advised that at this stage you will use the default values. Users who want to change these values are welcome to consult with our experts. The second learning button, the button labeled with the letter M, activates the multi-variables learning process. This process explains which combinations are rare and which are common. It also teaches which combinations reflect good water quality and bad water quality. Rare combinations are not necessarily bad. This is what the EDS needs to learn. This is what the second learning process performs. The results of the second learning process are displayed in the similarity table. This table is shown in the current slide. The white columns show the variables. The gray columns show the results of the learning process. The rows are ranged from the most common to the rarest events. Note that similarity is ordered from the events which occurred most of the time in the data. The most common combination gets a value of relative similarity equal to 1. Topology, on the other hand, is a water quality rank. A topology of 1 reflects the best water quality. As this value goes down, the water quality deteriorates. The last stage is saving the definition. Please go to the Model panel and click the Save to DB button. Give the current version a name, or use the default description, which is the timestamp, and click the OK button. Your model is now defined and saved in the database. We are now ready for the next stage, which is the detector's definition. For this purpose, please view video number 5. This ends movie number 4. We hope to see you at movie number 5.